Thank you for being here today. I want to talk to you about something that is absolutely essential to human existence, something that lies at the heart of our daily struggle, motivation. It's something that drives us, pulls us forward, and enables us to transcend the limitations we encounter. But it's also something that's hard to pin down. Motivation is elusive, capricious. Some days we wake up feeling invincible, and other days we can't seem to summon even an ounce of energy to get out of bed. The question is, what is it that sustains motivation? How do we get ourselves to continue when the world around us seems chaotic, uncertain, and unforgiving? There's a crucial point here, something that might seem simple at first glance, but holds great depth. Motivation is not something you can force. You can't just decide to be motivated like you can decide to do the dishes. Motivation arises from something deeper, from a core alignment within yourself. It doesn't come from arbitrary rewards or fleeting pleasures. It's rooted in meaning. If you want to be truly motivated, you have to understand the reason you're doing what you're doing. You have to ask yourself, what is this all for? What does this matter? And not just any answer will do. It has to be something that resonates with your values, something that speaks to who you are and who you could be. Motivation is a byproduct of that deeper understanding. When you know why you're doing something, truly know, then your actions no longer feel like a burden. They become part of a larger narrative, and in that, you find strength. But here's the thing, meaning is not something that simply falls into your lap. It's something you have to pursue, to create, and often to struggle for. This is where it gets difficult. You see, life is filled with chaos. Life is unpredictable, untidy, and often downright brutal. There's no neat structure waiting for you to follow. Things fall apart, plans fail, relationships crumble. If you seek only order, only comfort, you won't find much meaning and certainly not much motivation. The paradox is this: meaning is found in the very things that challenge us, the things that force us to confront chaos, to step out of our comfort zone, to deal with the unpredictable nature of life. If you're only ever comfortable, you're not growing. You're stagnant. You're not evolving into something more than you were yesterday. And if you're not evolving, why bother moving at all? Now, there's another critical part of this, something we don't often want to hear: responsibility. If you want motivation, you have to take responsibility for your life. You have to take ownership of your actions, your decisions, and ultimately your destiny. It's easy to point the finger at the world and say, it's not my fault. If only things were different, I would do better. If only I had better circumstances. But that mindset traps you in a state of helplessness. It robs you of agency. You become a victim, and victims don't act. They wait. They complain. They make excuses. Taking responsibility is the antidote to that mindset. When you own your situation, no matter how difficult it is, you reclaim your power. You regain the ability to act. And here's the thing: the moment you realize that the power to change lies within you, that's when motivation kicks in. Because when you take responsibility for your life, you realize something else too. You are capable. You can shape your destiny. You may not be able to control every aspect of the world, but you can control how you respond to it. This is an incredibly empowering realization. Motivation comes when you stop waiting for the world to change and start changing yourself. But that's not all. Motivation thrives on progress. If you're not progressing, if you're not moving forward, you will lose momentum. This is why it's so important to set meaningful goals, not just any goals, but goals that stretch you. Goals that are difficult enough to challenge you, but not so difficult that they overwhelm you. You see, when you meet a challenge head on, when you push through something that stretches your abilities, your brain rewards you. It's like a feedback loop. You face a challenge, you overcome it, and in return, your brain rewards you with a sense of accomplishment, of pride. This is where the drive comes from. But it only happens when you step into the unknown, when you take that first step, when you decide that it's worth it to face the challenge. And here's another thing to consider when you set a goal, especially one that is meaningful. There will always be obstacles. There will be setbacks, moments when you doubt yourself, when you wonder if it's worth it. That's the nature of life. It's not a smooth, linear path. But it's in those moments of difficulty that your character is forged. It's easy to be motivated when things are going well. But real motivation is built in the face of adversity, in the moments when you're tempted to give up. And what happens if you don't give up? If you keep going, even when you're exhausted, even when it's hard, you begin to realize that you are capable of far more than you ever imagined. So, to find motivation, you don't need some magic trick, some quick fix, or someone else's inspiration. What you need is clarity, clarity of purpose, clarity of vision, and clarity of responsibility. Understand why you do what you do. Take full responsibility for where you are and where you want to go. And confront the chaos and challenges that life throws your way, because it's in those challenges that your true potential will emerge. And when you do that, when you align yourself with something meaningful, when you take responsibility for your life, when you push through the chaos, you'll find that motivation is not something that comes from the outside. It's something that rises from within. It's something you can cultivate, something you can tap into. And it's something that will propel you forward, no matter how difficult the journey may seem. Language holds immense power. It shapes our thoughts, directs our actions, and influences the way we experience the world. Words can build, heal, inspire, or destroy, depending on how they are used. The right words, spoken at the right time, can spark a revolution in our minds, urging us to rise above our limitations and push towards something greater. This is something that Jordan Peterson, a master of language, understands deeply. His speeches, books, and interviews are powerful not just because of the ideas he presents, but because of the way he uses language to ignite something within his audience. One of the key ways Peterson taps into the power of language is by creating a sense of urgency and purpose. He doesn't simply share abstract concepts or float along with ideas that are comfortable to think about. He forces you to confront the gravity of your own existence. He pushes you to ask yourself, what are you doing with your life? Are you truly living in a way that's meaningful? Are you rising to the challenges that are waiting for you? This isn't casual conversation. It's a call to action. Peterson uses his words to stir something deep within, to create a sense of necessity in the listener's mind. He doesn't allow complacency. He challenges you, often with stark language that might be uncomfortable, but that discomfort is precisely what gives his message weight. This sense of urgency is bolstered by his brilliant use of metaphors and anecdotes. Peterson doesn't just speak in abstract terms. He brings complex psychological and philosophical concepts down to earth by weaving them into stories and metaphors that anyone can understand. He draws on everyday experiences, on cultural references, on historical examples, and on personal anecdotes that create a tangible connection between his ideas and the listener's lived reality. For instance, when he talks about chaos and order, he doesn't merely define them in theoretical terms. He paints a vivid picture of these forces as something we all encounter, whether it's the chaos of an unplanned day or the order of a life lived with structure and purpose. He takes concepts that might otherwise seem distant or complex and makes them relatable. He speaks to the heart and the mind, not just the intellect. The metaphors Peterson uses are carefully chosen for their ability to resonate emotionally. He understands that the human mind connects more deeply with stories than with dry facts or abstract arguments. When he speaks about the dangers of avoiding responsibility, he tells stories of people who have faced immense suffering and risen above it. He uses the metaphor of a hero's journey to emphasize the importance of grappling with life's hardships, suggesting that in every individual's life, there is a narrative, a story where we are the protagonists. And the challenges we face are not just obstacles, but opportunities for growth. These are not just words, they are images and stories that stick in the mind, evoking an emotional response that drives us to take action. Another powerful tool Peterson uses is repetition. It's not a coincidence that his key messages echo throughout his speeches and writings. He often repeats phrases or ideas multiple times, reinforcing the importance of those ideas until they become ingrained in the listener's mind. This repetition isn't just about memorization, it's about reinforcement. He uses repetition to ensure that the ideas presenting are not fleeting, they need to be absorbed, internalized, and acted upon. Whether it's the idea of taking responsibility for your life or the importance of confronting suffering, Peterson doesn't just mention these concepts once, he brings them up again and again, each time with slightly different phrasing or emphasizing or in a new context so that they feel undeniable. This repetition ensures that his messages don't fade into the background, but rather echo in the listener's mind long after the conversation is over. By repeatedly bringing the listener back to the core principles, Peterson makes sure they are not just intellectually understood, but emotionally felt. This repetition creates a rhythm, a pattern that makes the ideas stick. It ensures that his audience not only hears the words, but feels the urgency and importance of what he is saying. It makes those words unforgettable. In the end, Peterson's use of language is a masterclass in how to communicate with impact. Through his deliberate choice of words, metaphors, anecdotes, and repetition, he creates a sense of urgency and purpose, making abstract concepts tangible and emotionally resonant. His language is not just about conveying information, it's about shifting the way people think and feel. It's about pushing them toward action, toward change, and toward living a life with greater meaning. It's about making sure the message doesn't just pass through the air, but sinks deep into the listener's soul, challenging them to rise to the highest version of themselves. And that is the true power of language. Motivation is something we all grapple with at different times in our lives. It's the invisible force that propels us forward or holds us back. And if we're honest, there are moments when the drive to take action seems absent, when the world feels too overwhelming and our goals appear distant. But what if we could understand the deeper psychology behind motivation and tap into it more effectively? What if we could learn how to motivate ourselves, not just in the fleeting moments when we feel inspired, but on a consistent basis, even when things get tough? One of the most powerful concepts in the psychology of motivation is self-efficacy. This is the belief that you have the capability to achieve what you set out to do. It's a simple yet profound idea. When you believe you can succeed, you're far more likely to take action and stick with it. This is not about blind optimism. It's about recognizing that you have the capacity to influence the outcomes in your life, that the work you put in has meaning and can lead to real results. People with high self-efficacy approach challenges with confidence, knowing that while obstacles may arise, they have the skills and resilience to overcome them. And when they encounter setbacks, they don't give up. They learn, they adapt, and they keep moving forward. This is where goal setting becomes crucial. Setting goals gives direction to your efforts and provides you with a clear roadmap for how to channel your energy. But these goals have to be meaningful, not just arbitrary. When your goals are tied to something deeper, something that resonates with your values and desires, you're more likely to stay committed, even when the journey gets difficult. The key is breaking larger goals into smaller, more manageable steps, making them achievable and ensuring that you see progress along the way. Every small victory becomes a building block that strengthens your belief in your ability to succeed. This sense of accomplishment then fuels further action, creating a cycle of motivation and achievement. However, self-efficacy and goal setting alone are not enough. Motivation is also deeply tied to personal responsibility. It's easy to look outside ourselves for answers, to blame external circumstances or other people for our failures. But the truth is, Our ability to succeed is often contingent on how much ownership we take over our lives. Personal responsibility is the cornerstone of motivation. It's about acknowledging that, no matter the circumstances, we have control over how we respond. When we take responsibility for our actions, we take back our power. And with that power comes the ability to change. We stop seeing ourselves as passive observers and begin to act as active participants in our own lives. Accountability goes hand in hand with this sense of responsibility. It's one thing to make a commitment to ourselves, but it's another to hold ourselves accountable for following through. Accountability is a powerful motivator because it forces us to stay true to our word. It might involve sharing our goals with others, seeking out support, or setting up a system of checks and balances to ensure we're staying on track. But whatever form it takes, accountability helps to reinforce our commitment and keeps us focused on the finish line. Without it, it's too easy to give in to distractions, to put things off, or to let excuses take the place of action. This brings us to the role of adversity. Life is, by its very nature, unpredictable. Challenges will arise, and at times it will feel as though the world is pushing against us. But it's in those moments of difficulty that our true character is forged. Overcoming adversity is not just about surviving, it's about embracing the challenge and growing stronger through it. This is where the psychology of motivation truly meets the wisdom of experience. When we face hardship, we can choose to see it as a threat, something that defeats us, or we can choose to see it as an opportunity, something that helps us become better, more resilient versions of ourselves. Peterson often talks about the necessity of embracing suffering and challenge. In his view, it's not enough to avoid the difficult parts of life. We have to engage with them, confront them head on, and grow through the experience. When we embrace adversity, we move beyond the idea that life should always be easy or comfortable. Instead, we learn that the most meaningful moments often come from the hardest experiences. These challenges shape us, strengthen us, and provide us with the tools we need to succeed in the future. The more we face adversity and persist through it, the more confident we become in our ability to handle whatever comes our way. This sense of mastery further boosts our self-efficacy, making it easier to tackle future challenges with resolve and determination. Ultimately, motivation is not just about the fleeting moments of inspiration we feel when everything is going well. It's about building a mindset of belief in our ability to act and to overcome, a commitment to taking responsibility for our lives, and a willingness to embrace the challenges that come our way. Self-efficacy, goal setting, responsibility, and resilience form the foundation for sustained motivation. When we align our actions with these principles, we unlock a deeper, more enduring source of energy that drives us forward, no matter what obstacles we face. So as you move through life, remember that motivation is something you can cultivate. It's not a passive state, but an active process. It's not about waiting for inspiration to strike, but about taking the steps necessary to build the momentum that carries you through even the toughest of times. When you believe in yourself, set meaningful goals, take responsibility, and embrace adversity, you'll find that motivation isn't something you have to chase, it's something that will flow from within. We all seek meaning in our lives, whether we realize it or not. It's the force that shapes our actions, drives our decisions, and ultimately defines our sense of fulfillment. Without meaning, life can feel directionless, as though we're simply going through the motions. Yet, when we find meaning, when we discover a purpose that resonates with us, it lights a fire within us that propels us forward, even when the road is hard. The connection between meaning, purpose, and motivation is profound. When we know why we're doing something, when we can clearly articulate the purpose behind our actions, it gives us the energy and the focus to keep moving, even when the journey is long or difficult. Meaning is not just a passive concept, it's a driving force that fuels our actions. Without it, we might find ourselves stagnant, unmotivated, unable to see beyond the day-to-day grind. But when we identify a sense of purpose, everything changes. Our daily struggles no longer feel pointless. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to live out that deeper purpose. Meaning makes all the difference. It provides the lens through which we view our lives, and with it, our actions take on a renewed sense of urgency and importance. This is where values and belief systems come into play. They are the foundation upon which meaning is built. Our values, the things that we hold dear, directly influence the choices we make and the paths we pursue. They determine what we prioritize, how we spend our time, and where we direct our energy. If our values align with our actions, we feel a deep sense of congruence between who we are and what we do. But when our actions stray from our core values, we experience dissonance, a disconnect that leaves us feeling unfulfilled or lost. That's why it's so important to have clarity around our values, to know what we stand for, what truly matters to us. When we do, we can make decisions that are aligned with those values, and as a result, we build a life that feels meaningful. Peterson's philosophy speaks directly to this. He offers a framework for discovering and pursuing our true calling by encouraging individuals to take responsibility for their lives, to confront the chaos of existence, and to find a path that is not just about comfort, but about growth. He speaks about the importance of adopting a mindset that is not afraid of the unknown, that is willing to face challenges head on in order to create something of value. His teaching stressed the importance of identifying what matters most to us, not based on what society says we should care about, but based on what we as individuals hold dear. In Peterson's view, meaning doesn't just fall into your lap, it requires effort. It's a pursuit that demands responsibility, commitment, and a willingness to engage with life in its most difficult and complex forms. But in that struggle, in that engagement with life's uncertainties, you discover what you're truly capable of. You learn what you stand for, what you're willing to fight for, and ultimately what your true calling is. When you align your actions with your values, when you pursue something that is meaningful to you, you move toward a life that is not just full of activity, but full of purpose. Peterson also emphasizes the necessity of confronting suffering, of engaging with the discomfort that comes with growth. So often we want to avoid pain, to find the path of least resistance. But it's through facing our struggles, through grappling with the challenges of life, that we develop resilience and wisdom. Each difficulty we encounter teaches us something valuable. And when we approach life with the mindset that our suffering can lead to growth, we begin to see the world through a different lens. We start to understand that it's not just the easy moments that shape us, it's the hard ones. This philosophy of taking responsibility, confronting chaos, and seeking out what is truly meaningful has the potential to help individuals discover and pursue their true calling. When you recognize that your life is not a random series of events, but an opportunity to create something meaningful, you begin to take ownership of your journey. And in doing so, you begin to move closer to the life you're meant to lead, one that reflects your core values, your purpose, and your vision for who you are and who you want to become. In the end, meaning is not something that is handed to us. It's something we must actively seek, something we must craft through our choices, our actions, and our commitment to what matters most. When we discover that meaning, when we connect it to our values, and when we live it out through our daily decisions, motivation follows naturally. We no longer have to force ourselves to take action. The action flows from a deeper sense of purpose, one that fuels us from within. And when we live in alignment with our true calling, we experience a fulfillment that can't be found in any external accomplishment. It's a fulfillment that comes from within, from knowing that we are living a life of meaning. Jordan Peterson has undoubtedly sparked intense debate in the realms of psychology, philosophy, and personal development. His ideas have resonated with millions, offering practical advice for living a meaningful life. Yet at the same time, he has faced significant criticism. Critics often label his methods as overly simplistic, divisive, or even dangerous. These critiques deserve to be explored, not to dismiss them outright, but to address them thoughtfully and fairly, and to gain a deeper understanding of the potential benefits and limitations of Peterson's approach. One of the most common critiques of Peterson's work is that his advice, particularly in relation to personal responsibility, can feel overly individualistic. Critics argue that his emphasis on taking responsibility for one's life may downplay the systemic factors that contribute to individual hardship. Indeed, Peterson often places the onus of change on the individual, urging people to take ownership of their actions and their circumstances, even when faced with significant societal obstacles. While this perspective can be empowering for many, it may overlook the real challenges that people face, particularly those who are dealing with structural inequality or systemic injustice. It's important to acknowledge that personal responsibility, while essential, is not a cure-all. There are external factors such as social, economic, and political systems that can impede an individual's ability to thrive. However, Peterson's focus on responsibility is also one of the central pillars of his philosophy. He doesn't just encourage people to take responsibility for their successes, but also for their failures. He challenges individuals to confront their own flaws and limitations instead of blaming others or external circumstances. This philosophy has the potential to foster personal growth because it emphasizes agency, the idea that we as individuals have the power to shape our own destinies. When we adopt this mindset, we stop seeing ourselves as victims of circumstances, and instead we take charge of our own lives. The challenge here, of course, is in finding a balance between personal responsibility and an awareness of the broader context in which we live. Another critique often directed at Peterson is his ideological stance, particularly his views on gender hierarchy and social roles. Some see his arguments as reinforcing traditional gender norms, which can be seen as regressive in a time when many are pushing for greater gender equality and social progress. For instance, Peterson has famously spoken out against compelled speech laws, particularly those related to gender pronouns, and his views on the natural order of hierarchies have sparked backlash from those who believe his approach undermines efforts toward a more egalitarian society. Yet, while his stance on these issues has certainly provoked controversy, it's essential to examine his broader argument about hierarchies and human nature. Peterson argues that hierarchies are not inherently oppressive, but rather a natural aspect of human society rooted in biology and evolutionary psychology. He suggests that understanding and navigating these hierarchies is crucial for personal success and social stability. Whether you agree with this perspective or not, his argument presents a challenge to those who advocate for the dismantling of all hierarchies without considering the complexities of human behavior. Peterson's approach asks us to question whether equality of outcome is realistic or whether instead we should focus on fostering equality of opportunity, where individuals are given the chance to thrive based on their unique abilities and efforts. Despite these critiques, there are undeniable benefits to Peterson's approach. His focus on personal responsibility and individual agency encourages people to look inward, to recognize the power they have to shape their lives. By urging individuals to face their personal challenges and to pursue meaning rather than mere pleasure, Peterson promotes a deeper sense of purpose that can be a powerful motivator for change. His work offers concrete advice on how to navigate life's difficulties, from creating structure and discipline in your daily routine to confronting your fears and imperfections head on. Many people who have engaged with his ideas report experiencing profound shifts in their mindset, seeing greater clarity and direction in their lives. At the same time, it's important to acknowledge the limitations of his approach. Peterson's framework works well for individuals who are seeking personal growth and are motivated to make changes in their lives. However, his methods may not be as effective for everyone, particularly those who are dealing with severe mental health challenges or those who face deep-seated societal barriers. Personal responsibility, while empowering, can feel overwhelming or out of reach for individuals who are struggling with systemic disadvantages. In these cases, it's crucial to recognize that personal growth often requires a combination of individual effort and external support, whether that's in the form of therapy, community, or social change. The role of psychology in personal growth is complex. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution. While Peterson's emphasis on taking responsibility for one's life and confronting adversity head-on can be transformative for many, it must be understood within a broader context. Psychological growth is deeply personal, and what works for one individual may not work for another. Therapy, support networks, and systemic changes all play important roles in helping people thrive. Peterson's work offers valuable insights into how individuals can take control of their own narratives, but it must also be integrated with a recognition of the larger forces at play in our lives. In the end, Peterson's approach is not without its flaws, but it provides a framework for personal growth that is rooted in the idea that we can overcome obstacles, face the chaos of life, and create something meaningful from it. It challenges us to step up and take responsibility for our lives, to recognize the potential we have within ourselves, and to pursue goals that align with our values and aspirations. While his philosophy is not a perfect solution for every problem, it offers a starting point, one that encourages self-reflection, action, and the pursuit of meaning in a world that often seems uncertain. And as with any philosophy, it's up to each of us to take what resonates and apply it in a way that fits our own unique journey. Jordan Peterson's work has had a profound and lasting impact on both individuals and society. Over the years, his ideas have sparked intense discussions, challenged prevailing narratives, and inspired countless individuals to take a closer look at their lives and their potential. But the true measure of his influence lies not just in the ideas he presents, but in the way those ideas encourage people to act, to reflect, and to reshape the trajectory of their own lives. One of the most significant aspects of Peterson's work is his emphasis on personal responsibility. He doesn't simply encourage individuals to think about their actions or acknowledge their failures. He implores them to take ownership of their own lives, to actively engage with the challenges they face, and to make decisions that reflect their values and goals. This message has resonated deeply with many, particularly in a time when personal accountability often seems to be at odds with the overwhelming complexities of modern society. Peterson's call to take responsibility for one's life doesn't ignore the difficulties people face, whether they be economic, social, or psychological, but rather it empowers individuals to face those difficulties head on, to understand that they have the ability to navigate the chaos and find meaning in the process. This shift in mindset is not just a theoretical one, it's a call to action, urging people to stop waiting for the world to change and to instead become active participants in their own personal growth. The impact of this philosophy extends far beyond the individual level. Peterson's teachings also have significant implications for society as a whole. By advocating for personal responsibility, he emphasizes the importance of individuals taking ownership of their roles within the larger social fabric. This doesn't mean that we should ignore the collective challenges that we face, but it does suggest that societal progress begins with the actions of individuals. When people recognize their own agency and act with integrity and purpose, they contribute to the creation of stronger, more resilient communities. Peterson's work encourages us to take responsibility not just for ourselves, but for the communities we're a part of. It's a call to engage with the world in a way that's constructive, thoughtful, and grounded in our values. This focus on individual responsibility offers a pathway to building societies where personal accountability and respect for others are foundational values. At the heart of Peterson's message is the idea that every individual has untapped potential. He challenges the prevailing belief that people are often constrained by their circumstances, that they are merely products of their environment, and that they are defined by their past mistakes or limitations. Instead, Peterson encourages individuals to realize that they are capable of more, that they can overcome the difficulties in their lives, and that they can achieve success through effort, discipline, and a clear sense of purpose. This emphasis on individual potential is both empowering and inspiring. It encourages people to rise above the circumstances they find themselves in and to push forward in pursuit of their true calling. But while Peterson's message is undeniably motivating, it's also important to engage with it critically. His teachings, like any philosophy, are not infallible, and it's essential for each person to examine his ideas, consider their implications, and decide how they apply to their own lives. Peterson's framework is a powerful one, but it's not the only path to success. For some, his approach to personal responsibility might feel overwhelming or insufficient in addressing broader social issues. For others, his focus on individual agency might seem to ignore the importance of community and collective action. It's crucial, therefore, for viewers and followers of Peterson's work to engage with his ideas thoughtfully, to take what resonates with them and to question what doesn't. As we listen to Peterson's teachings and consider their lasting impact, we should remember that the ultimate goal is not to adopt a singular approach to life, but to find our own unique path. Peterson's work provides valuable insights into the human experience, insights that can guide us toward greater self-awareness, personal growth, and societal contribution. But it's up to each of us to integrate those insights in a way that makes sense for our own individual journeys. Success, as Peterson often points out, is not a one-size-fits-all concept. It's about finding meaning, purpose, and fulfillment in a way that aligns with our values and aspirations. It's about taking ownership of our lives, stepping into our potential, and engaging with the world in a way that reflects who we truly are. And as we navigate that path, it's important to remember that personal growth is not a linear process. There will be setbacks, challenges, and moments of doubt. But the key is to keep moving forward, to keep striving, and to remain open to the opportunities for growth that arise in every circumstance. In the end, the lasting impact of Peterson's work is not just in the ideas he shares, but in the way those ideas inspire us to live more fully, more consciously, and more responsibly. By critically engaging with his teachings, we can take the lessons that resonate with us, adapt them to our own lives, and use them as a guide for our own personal journeys. And as we do, we may just find that the path to success is not a destination, but a continuous process of growth, learning, and transformation.